There comes a moment in every life when you realize that no one is coming to rescue you. It's not a bitter truth. It's a liberating one. The world will hand you storms, losses, and betrayals. You will face mornings when the weight of existence feels heavier than the rising sun. And in those moments, your mind will whisper questions. Why me? Why now? Why this? The Stoics, from Epictetus to Marcus Aurelius, tell us that the question is never why me. But what will I do with this? Napoleon Hill said it differently. Within every adversity is the seed of an equal or greater benefit, and Nietzsche sharpened it into a blade. What does not kill me makes me stronger. 3 traditions. 1 message. Your power lies not in avoiding difficulty, but in transmuting it, in turning the raw iron of suffering into the tempered steel of character. The first law, you own your mind. Epictetus taught that while we cannot control the wind, we can control the sail. Napoleon Hill would call this definiteness of purpose, the focused, unwavering mental state that bends circumstances toward your goals. Nietzsche would demand even more, to not only adjust the sail, but to rejoice in the storm, to treat each challenge as a test worthy of your highest self. Owning your mind means this: no insult, failure, or fear gets to decide how you think. You are the gatekeeper. Thoughts knock on the door, you choose who enters. If you believe the day is ruined before it begins, it will be. If you believe that every obstacle is training you for greatness, then even pain becomes a kind of nourishment. The alchemy of adversity. Imagine a man climbing a mountain. Every step burns his legs, every gust of wind bites his skin. The peak is shrouded in mist, and he does not know how far remains. The untrained mind says, turn back. The trained mind says, this is why I came. The Stoics saw life as training for virtue. Napoleon Hill saw every setback as a disguised gift. Nietzsche demanded that you love your fate so deeply you would live it again, eternally, without changing a thing. This is not blind optimism. This is the discipline to turn coal into diamond by pressure, heat, and time. The formula is simple, but not easy. Refuse the role of victim. You are not owed comfort. Direct your thoughts with precision. You think only that which serves your mission. Affirm the challenge. You greet difficulty as proof you are still in the arena. Why this matters now? Our age has many comforts but little resilience. We anesthetize ourselves with distraction and call it peace. But peace without strength is only a truce with chaos. The storms will come, and when they do, your preparation, or lack of it, will be revealed instantly. You do not become unshakable by wishing for calm seas. You become unshakable by sailing through tempests until they no longer scare you. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal, "If it is endurable, then endure it. If it is not endurable, then stop complaining. Your destruction will mean its end as well." Napoleon Hill would nod. Every adversity carries the seed of an equal or greater benefit. Nietzsche would smile his fierce smile and ask, "Can you dance in chains?" The choice is yours. Stand up, take the wheel, and move forward, not in spite of difficulty, but because of it. If the first law of strength is to own your mind, the second law is to give it a direction so compelling that hesitation becomes impossible. Napoleon Hill called it definiteness of purpose, a single burning goal that organizes every thought and action. The Stoics would frame it as living in harmony with reason and nature, to aim for what is truly worth aiming for. Nietzsche would raise the stakes. Your purpose must be so bold, so consuming, that it makes life worth enduring even at its most brutal. Without such a purpose, you will be swayed by every passing mood, headline, or criticism. With it, you become like a river cutting through rock, slow but unstoppable. The enemy of purpose, scattered. Well, we live in a century of fragments. Our attention is splintered into notifications, gossip, and the endless scroll. The modern mind jumps from desire to desire, and as a result, nothing is pursued deeply. The Stoics warned against this 2,000 years ago. If you are everywhere, you are nowhere. Hill would agree. The man who chases two rabbits catches neither. Nietzsche would shake his head at the dilution of willpower, for he knew that greatness is not born from lukewarm intentions. Your will must be like sunlight through a magnifying glass, concentrated enough to ignite, forging purpose. Purpose is not a luxury, it's a survival tool for the soul. Without it, life feels arbitrary, and arbitrary lives collapse at the first real blow. To forge a purpose, ask yourself, if I had no fear of failure or judgment, what would I pursue? If I knew my life would end in a decade, what would be worth my remaining time? What can I create or contribute that would outlast me? The Stoics would remind you, aim for what is in your control and make your virtue the foundation of your aim. Hill would push you to define your goal so clearly that you can write it in one sentence. Nietzsche would demand you make it yours, not inherited from your culture, parents, or peers, but born from your deepest instincts. The grind of alignment. Once your purpose is chosen, the work begins. Not glamorous work, but the daily grind of alignment. Every decision is filtered through a single question. Does this serve my purpose? If yes, proceed. If no, discard. You will lose some comforts. Some friends will drift away. You will be misunderstood, mocked, even resented. This is proof you are no longer living according to the whims of the crowd. Nietzsche called this the life of the Übermensch, the one who creates their own values and lives them fully. Marcus Aurelius called it simply being a man in accord with nature. Hill called it the foundation of all achievement. Different names, same truth, the momentum of certainty. When purpose is clear, doubt loses its teeth. You no longer waste days in indecision. You may still feel fear, but fear becomes irrelevant compared to the drive to move forward. The Stoic accepts fate but shapes himself to meet it. The strategist of success shapes plans to seize opportunity. The self-overcomer turns life itself into art. In that union of philosophies, you discover a paradox. Your life becomes both easier and harder. Harder because your standards rise. Easier because confusion dies. Purpose is not a map, it is a compass. The path will twist, the terrain will change, but the needle will always point the same way. If you choose a great purpose, you must also choose its shadow, struggle. You cannot have one without the other. Every mountain carries its climb, every victory carries its cost. The Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the impediment to action becomes the action. Napoleon Hill knew it. Persistence is the power to keep going despite all reasons to stop. Nietzsche not only accepted struggle, he exalted it, treating it as the forge in which higher humans are made. Why we fear struggle? We have been trained to see difficulty as a sign something is wrong, as if life's natural state should be ease. But life has never been easy. Not for emperors, not for inventors, not for warriors. The problem is not struggle itself. The problem is expecting life to be free from it. When you accept that hardship is normal, even necessary, you remove half of its sting. The Stoics used a mental trick called premeditatio malorum, premeditation of evils. They would imagine the worst that could happen, not to depress themselves, but to prepare their minds. Napoleon Hill, in his own way, echoed this with the principle of anticipating obstacles before they arise. Nietzsche pushed further. Do not merely bear what comes, will it. Turning resistance into strength, think of a muscle. Without resistance, it does not grow. Too little challenge, and it weakens. Too much too fast, and it tears. The art is in applying the right kind of resistance consistently. In life, resistance comes in the form of rejection, loss, fatigue, and failure. The untrained mind sees these as signs to quit. The trained mind recognizes them as proof that it is in the arena. Napoleon Hill wrote that most people give up right before success arrives, the 3 feet from gold phenomenon. Nietzsche would say they lack the will to bear the weight of becoming. The Stoics would simply say they fail to live up to the virtue of fortitude. The discipline of endurance. Endurance is not passive. It is not sitting still and hoping for the storm to pass. True endurance is active resistance to collapse. It is holding your ground, or better, advancing, while the wind howls in your face. There are 3 pillars to endurance. Control the inner voice. When fatigue says stop, you answer, 1 more step. Remember the purpose. Without purpose, pain feels pointless. With purpose, it becomes fuel. Detach from comfort. Do not expect ease, or you will break when it is gone. The Stoics trained for this daily by accepting small discomforts. Hill's students trained for it by facing repeated business setbacks without surrender. Nietzsche trained for it by deliberately confronting ideas and truths most people avoided. The joy in struggle. This is the turning point, when struggle stops being an enemy and becomes a companion. Nietzsche called it amor fati, love of fate. Marcus Aurelius would pray not for a lighter burden, but for stronger shoulders. Hill saw persistence not as grim duty, but as the natural state of the truly committed. To love the struggle is to realize it is not in the way. It is the way. Every time you meet difficulty without flinching, you are training the part of you that cannot be broken. And when that part becomes strong enough, nothing the world throws at you will matter in the same way again. All victories are won twice, once in the mind and once in the world. If your inner state is chaos, your actions will be scattered. If your inner state is disciplined, the world bends more easily to your will. The Stoics understood this as apatheia, not the absence of feeling, but freedom from being ruled by it. Napoleon Hill called it mastery of the mind, the deliberate shaping of thoughts to create desired outcomes. Nietzsche saw it as self-overcoming, the relentless refinement of the self into something stronger, sharper, more alive. The tyranny of the untrained mind. Most people are not thinking, they are being thought. Their mental space is hijacked by impulses, fears, and whatever noise happens to pass through their environment. One insult can derail their day. One setback can collapse their confidence. This is the slavery Marcus Aurelius warned against, being a puppet of circumstance. Hill would diagnose it as a lack of mental control. Nietzsche would call it herd mentality, reacting without conscious will, like animals startled by every shadow. To master the inner battlefield, you must seize command of your mental processes the way a general seizes the high ground, commanding emotion. The Stoics trained themselves to pause between stimulus and response. Epictetus taught, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them." This is the foundation. The thing itself is neutral. It is your interpretation that makes it heaven or hell. Napoleon Hill took this further with the principle of autosuggestion. the repeated, deliberate planting of thoughts in the mind until they shape both mood and behavior. Nietzsche, in turn, demanded that you not only choose your thoughts, but choose the strongest ones, those that affirm life, demand action, and breed resilience. Practical steps. Pause before reacting. Take the hit, absorb it, and choose your next move deliberately. Reframe the event. Ask, how can this serve me? Reinforce the new frame. Repeat it until it becomes your automatic response. Training the subconscious hill. Believe the subconscious is the bridge between thought and reality. It works tirelessly on whatever you feed it. Feed it fear, and it will find reasons to be afraid. Feed it victory, and it will seek ways to achieve it. The Stoics, though they didn't use modern psychological language, practiced the same by daily reflection, reviewing their actions and thoughts each night to reinforce the good and remove the bad. Nietzsche's version was ruthless honesty. Confront your weaknesses without flinching, then crush them. The danger. Within often, your greatest enemy is not the competitor across the table or the critic in the crowd. It is the whisper in your own mind that says, you can't. That voice can wear many disguises: logic, prudence, humility, but its aim is always the same: to keep you safe, small, and stagnant. To defeat it, you must recognize it for what it is: the voice of fear, not truth. And you must answer it the way a stoic, a strategist, and a self-overcomer would. I hear you, and I go forward anyway. When mind rules. Matter. A mind trained to focus, to choose its emotional state, and to reject inner sabotage becomes a weapon. And like all weapons, it demands responsibility. You can use it to create, to inspire, to lead, or to manipulate, to dominate, to destroy. Nietzsche warned that strength without morality can corrupt. The Stoics insisted that virtue be the aim of all discipline. Hill argued that without integrity, success is hollow and fleeting. Master yourself, but make sure the self you master is worth following. Willpower is a spark. Habits are the fire it lights. If you rely on raw willpower to make every decision, you will burn out. The Stoics knew this. Virtue was to be practiced daily, not summoned occasionally. Napoleon Hill built entire chapters on organized planning, structuring life so that success becomes the default outcome. Nietzsche saw each day as a chance to sculpt the self like a piece of art, chiseling away at weakness and shaping strength through repeated action. Why habits matter more than motivation. Motivation is fickle. It rises and falls with your mood, your energy, and the weather outside. But habits, once formed, operate regardless of mood. They are the automated programs of the mind. The Stoics didn't wait for inspiration to practice discipline. Marcus Aurelius woke each morning to write in his journal before leading an empire. Not because he felt like it, but because it was his practice. Hill trained his readers to create daily rituals of goal review, visualization, and action steps. Nietzsche's demand was relentless. Do not drift, but live deliberately in every small act so that over years your habits shape a destiny worth owning. Designing your fortress. Do you think of habits as the walls of a fortress? Each brick is a repeated action. Weak bricks, sloppy routines, aimless tasks weaken the structure. Strong bricks, purposeful actions repeated with precision, make the fortress unassailable. Here's how to build it. Identify the keystone habit. The one practice that triggers all other good behaviors, e.g. morning exercise, nightly planning. Attach new habits to existing ones. Link them so they become automatic. Guard the routine. Treat it as sacred. Disruption is the enemy. The Stoics guarded their morning and evening reflections. Hill advised guarding the first hour of the day for mental preparation. Nietzsche guarded his solitude, refusing to dilute his energy with idle chatter or unworthy company. The Power of Small Wins. Nietzsche once wrote that the great is born from the smallest acts done with care. The Stoics agreed. Progress comes from the steady accumulation of tiny victories. Hill taught that even small daily steps toward a definite goal create unstoppable momentum. One workout will not make you strong. One journal entry will not make you wise. But string them together daily for a year and you will be unrecognizable. Protecting the fortress. Once you build strong habits, life will test them. Travel will disrupt your schedule. Crises will demand your time. People will try to pull you back into the chaos you have escaped. The Stoics would say, anticipate these tests and adapt without losing the essence of your practice. Hill would tell you to return to your organized plan as soon as possible. Nietzsche would challenge you to see disruption itself as another form of discipline. Can you keep your inner structure intact even when the outer one is broken? When habits become identity. The final stage is when your habits are no longer just actions you take. They are who you are. The Stoic does not try to act with virtue. He is virtuous. Hill's student does not try to think positively. He is the type who seeks solutions. Nietzsche's self-overcomer does not try to push limits. He is the limit breaker. When habits fuse with identity, the fortress stands without effort, and storms become irrelevant. Strength and endurance forge the foundation, but creation builds the legacy. The greatest human act is not merely to survive or endure, but to create, to bring something new into the world that bears the mark of your spirit. The Stoics saw this as fulfilling your role in the cosmos, contributing what only you can contribute. Napoleon Hill called it creative vision, the ability to imagine and realize goals that elevate your life and those around you. Nietzsche proclaimed the artist's role as the creator of new values, the one who gives meaning by imposing form on chaos. Creation as a duty. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that his life was not his own, but a part of a vast order. Your creation is your service to that order. Hill emphasized that true success comes from giving, not just getting. From creating value that benefits others as well as yourself. Nietzsche elevated creation into a moral imperative, challenging you to overcome nihilism by forging your own meaning. Creation is not optional, it is your answer to the void. Vision. Without action is vanity vision. Alone is not enough. Dreams without work are mere fantasies. Hill insisted on organized planning and persistent action to turn vision into reality. Stoicism adds the discipline of accepting setbacks without losing sight of your goal. Nietzsche's philosophy reminds us that true creation demands sacrifice, sometimes of comfort, popularity, or certainty. Ask yourself, what can I create that will carry my voice beyond this lifetime? Creativity in the face of chaos. Life is unpredictable. Plans fail. Markets crash. People change. Your vision must be flexible but firm. The Stoic teaches amor fati, love of fate, embracing the unexpected as part of your creative process. Hill teaches the power of autosuggestion, reinforcing your vision daily. Nietzsche demands a joyous yes to life's turmoil, transforming chaos into art. The creator dances on the edge of disorder and order, turning both into a masterpiece. Overcoming the fear of failure creation requires courage. The fear of failure can freeze the boldest intentions. Stoicism counsels detachment from outcomes. Do your best and accept whatever follows. Hill frames failure as feedback, a step toward mastery. Nietzsche says failure is necessary. One must still have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star. Create not because you are certain, but because you are committed. Leaving a mark your creation becomes your immortality, the way your energy continues beyond your physical existence. Whether a work of art, a business that transforms lives, or the raising of children who embody your values, creation is how you tell the universe, I was here and I mattered. The Stoic legacy is virtue. Hill's legacy is achievement through purpose. Nietzsche's legacy is the challenge to become who you truly are. Your creation is the fusion of all three. True freedom is not escape from constraint. It is mastery through responsibility. The Stoics understood freedom as autarkia, self-sufficiency, the power to remain unmoved by external circumstances because your inner life is anchored. Napoleon Hill argued that the successful person takes full responsibility for their circumstances and their results, refusing to blame fate or others. Nietzsche taught that freedom demands the heaviest burden to choose your values, your path, and bear the consequences without complaint. The paradox of freedom. We often imagine freedom as doing whatever we want, but unrestrained freedom is chaos, not liberation. Without discipline and responsibility, freedom dissolves into bondage to impulse, fear, or social approval. The Stoics would say true freedom is freedom from enslavement to passions and externals. Hill would say freedom is the ability to design your life through deliberate choices. Nietzsche would say freedom is the will to become, to create yourself beyond who you were given to be. Taking ownership responsibility is the soil in which freedom grows. When you accept full responsibility for your thoughts, emotions, actions, and their consequences, you reclaim power. Hill warned, blaming others is the refuge of the weak. The Stoics reminded us that no one controls your mind but you. Nietzsche demanded that you stop hiding behind excuses and face the abyss of your own making. Ask yourself, in what area of my life am I still playing the victim? What would change if I took total responsibility? The weight of choice. Nietzsche called this the weight of freedom. To be free is to carry the burden of choosing your values and actions in a world that offers no guarantees. The Stoics taught that this weight is a privilege, the chance to live in accordance with reason and virtue. Hill described it as the foundation of all true success. Freedom is never free. It costs sweat, sacrifice, and sometimes solitude. Freedom from fear. When responsibility is fully embraced, fear loses power. You no longer dread failure or judgment because you know that your worth is not determined by outcomes but by your commitment. Stoicism offers tools to overcome fear. Focus on what you control, accept what you cannot. Hill's persistence is rooted in a mindset that turns fear into fuel. Nietzsche transforms fear into the fire that forges greatness. Living as a free human being. Freedom is not a destination. It is a daily practice. It is choosing in every moment to act with awareness, courage, and integrity. To be free is to own your mind, your purpose, your struggle, your habits, your creations, and above all, your responsibility. In this ownership lies true power, the power to shape not only your life but your legacy. Endurance is often painted as grim suffering, a dark necessity to bear life's blows. But what if endurance could be joyful? What if the capacity to persist through pain and hardship became a source of meaning and even delight? The Stoics taught that our judgment transforms suffering into either poison or medicine. Napoleon Hill called persistent faith the secret ingredient of all success. Nietzsche went further. He celebrated suffering as a form of becoming, a joyful struggle that sharpens the spirit and reveals the depths of life's beauty. Reframing suffering. The difference between bitter endurance and joyful endurance lies in the meaning you assign. The Stoics urged constant reflection. Is this suffering serving my growth? If yes, it becomes an opportunity rather than a punishment. Hill insisted on faith in your vision and yourself, a deep belief that every obstacle is a stepping stone. Nietzsche said, "What does not kill me makes me stronger." And from that strength comes a triumphant affirmation of life. Finding joy in the struggle. Joyful endurance is paradoxical. It accepts pain without surrendering to despair. It smiles through the storm because it knows the storm is temporary and its passage reveals new strength. How to cultivate it. Practice gratitude for challenge. Every trial is a chance to prove your resilience. Focus on progress, not perfection. Celebrate the small wins in hardship. Remember the bigger purpose. Your struggle is part of a story greater than the moment. The dance of acceptance and will stoicism balances acceptance of fate, amor fati, with active will. You accept what cannot be changed, but willfully engage with what can. Hill's persistence is the fuel for this engagement, and Nietzsche's will to power is the fire that drives it. This dance makes endurance dynamic. Not resignation, but creative persistence, transforming pain into power. Every hardship carries a seed of power. It can humble or harden you. It can break or build you. The choice belongs to you. Nietzsche calls this self-overcoming, rising above your former self by integrating suffering as a vital element of growth. The Stoics call it virtue, strength of character developed through trial. Hill calls it the hallmark of the successful mind, refusing to quit. Living the joyful warrior. Imagine yourself as a joyful warrior, not a grim martyr, but a dancer in the rain of adversity. You endure not because you must, but because you choose to. Because every step forward is a declaration. I am stronger than the storm. In this choice lies freedom, meaning, and ultimately joy. Every life tells a story, but only a few leave a legacy that echoes beyond their years. A legacy forged not by chance, but by deliberate struggle, mastery, and creation. The Stoics believed that the wise live with an eye toward eternity, contributing to the common good through virtue. Napoleon Hill taught that success is not just personal gain, but the impact you leave on others. Nietzsche declared that the highest human act is to become, to create values and paths for those who come after. Why legacy matters. Legacy is the ultimate measure of freedom and responsibility combined. It is the answer to the question, what will remain after I am gone? Without legacy, life can feel fleeting, even futile. With legacy, your efforts ripple outward, touching lives and shaping futures. Crafting. Your legacy is not only monuments or wealth, it is the sum of your virtues practiced, your hardships endured, your creations built, and the lives you uplifted. Hill emphasized the importance of definite purpose, a vision that guides your legacy. The Stoics urged living according to virtue, ensuring your legacy is honorable. Nietzsche pushed for originality, creating a legacy that breaks old chains and sets new standards. Overcoming the fear of insignificance. Many fear their efforts will be forgotten. This fear can immobilize or corrupt. The Stoics taught that what matters is not fame, but living rightly. Hill believed that success is measured by the value you add. Nietzsche insisted on self-overcoming, transcending the need for approval by creating your own meaning. Legacy starts with living fully now, with courage, integrity, and purpose. The overcomer's mark. The overcomer is one who faced adversity, mastered self, created boldly, took responsibility, and endured joyfully. Their legacy is a testament to what is possible. This legacy inspires others not by imposing, but by inviting, showing that greatness is available to those who choose the path. Your turn to become the overcomer. The lessons of stoicism, the insights of Napoleon Hill, and the fierce spirit of Nietzsche converge into one call. Rise. Take ownership. Create your destiny. Endure. Leave a legacy worthy of your soul. You are not merely passing through life, you are shaping it. We have journeyed through the teachings of the Stoics, Napoleon Hill's vision of success, and Nietzsche's call to radical self-overcoming. Now the question remains, how do you live this philosophy every day? The answer is simple and challenging, through consistent, conscious choice. Daily practice, the key to transformation. Wisdom without action is dust. The most profound truths become empty words if not embodied in your daily life. The Stoics taught the power of morning reflection and evening review, a simple ritual to prepare the mind and evaluate progress. Hill emphasized organized planning, breaking your vision into daily, manageable steps. Nietzsche demanded self-honesty, facing your own shadows each day to become stronger. Create your own ritual. Design a daily practice that anchors you. Begin with intention. Define your purpose each morning. Engage in mental discipline. Control your thoughts. Choose your emotions. Take deliberate action. Work on your keystone habit. Move towards your goal. Reflect with honesty. Review your successes and failures without judgment, only learning. Consistency builds the fortress of your will and the path to your legacy. Embrace the process, not just the outcome. Too often we fixate on goals and forget that growth happens in the doing. The Stoics remind us, focus on what is within your control, your effort and attitude. Hill teaches that persistence is key. The marathon outlasts the sprint. Nietzsche encourages finding joy even in struggle, becoming the dancer in the rain. When you love the process, you turn life itself into art. Live as the overcomer. To live this philosophy daily is to be the overcomer, the person who, no matter what happens, chooses to take responsibility for mind and actions, persist through adversity with joy, create with vision and courage, build habits that empower, serve a purpose greater than self. This is not a final destination, but a continual practice. Each day offers new chances to practice virtue, strength, and creativity. Your invitation. The legacy you leave depends on the choices you make now. Will you let circumstance dictate your story, or will you write it with intention? The wisdom of the ages, the insights of the masters, and your own inner strength combine to answer this question. Rise each day with purpose. Face the struggle with courage. Master your mind and habits. Create boldly. And above all, take responsibility for your freedom. This is the path of the Stoic, the visionary, and the overcomer. This is your path.